Okay, Inger, in Florida, finish up. So they also get out of limestone the chemicals that they put in the water. When you hear the word fluoridation, it means over 300. Generally, it's about 130 or so. We got a tour of the Austin water treatment. But it is chemical waste. And they also mine the limestone for fertilizer, for the chemicals they put in fertilizer. So, you know, I think just seeing some trucks drive around doesn't mean mass graves. All the official admissions by the federal government and the states of crematoriums and mass graves, though, does. And, Inger, I'm not criticizing you. We should all keep our eyes open. But we can keep our eyes open for congressmen and governors saying they're getting ready for martial law and that it's bad. I mean, this isn't like we're looking for this or anything. Because the way a straw man operator works is Glenn Beck would take your call from this show and say, look, she thinks it's mass graves from limestone, and he'd go to the limestone quarry and they'd say, no, we're doing this for fertilizer, and then never look at the hundreds of admissions of the FEMA camps. See, that's how their twisted system works. But tell me more about this.
Okay, I understand exactly what you're talking about. And yes, they could totally say that that wasn't what it was for, but these are hundreds and hundreds of trucks, and we've never seen them before, and it's just been in the last few weeks. And on the WHO website, it clearly says under their how to dispose of bodies in an emergency situation that if it is considered what they are saying would be an epidemic, that you would not use lime, you would use chlorine or other types of solutions like that. So that makes me think that it's not going to be related to, you know, the pandemic or the flu that they're trying to hide.
Yeah, but they may have just opened up a new aggregate mining facility. They have those all around where I live, mining marble and granite and limestone. I mean, all I'm saying is, ma'am, it's all admitted they're building mass graves. I'm not debating you on that. I mean, what are the trucks? I mean, is it blocks of limestone?
No, it's covered over in like, you know, like a black tarp that you see over a truck so the stuff doesn't fly out of it. And what's weird is this has been going on just now for the last few weeks, and it's hundreds of trucks. But also just last week in Cape Coral on August the 7th, my husband took pictures of military helicopters, green ones, flying, and they have spray bars on them. And when my husband asked someone who lived in the neighborhood why, because he was just in that area for the day, why they were there, and he said, oh, yeah, we saw it on the news. The military, the Army sold the city a whole bunch of used helicopters to spray for mosquitoes. Well, we don't have that many mosquitoes. I mean, we have mosquitoes. No, I hear you. And I appreciate
your call. I want to get Bob's comment here in closing on this. We'll take more calls with Alan Keyes coming up. But, again, I just don't want to miss the forest for the trees here. They admittedly have built mass graves. They admittedly are gearing up for this, 400,000 troops. Whether they really release a deadly flu or not, this was clearly all staged. They built up for this beforehand, and they're using it to train us for federalization. Bob, your take on this.
I don't see the government giving used helicopters to Charlotte County or any of that area down there. They've asked for them for years and got nothing. It happens I used to live there, and so I think they were military helicopters, and they were probably manned by military people.
Well, I was going to say the Army admits they do all these chemical, biological, and radiological tests on people, so they'll lie to the public with any cover story. Get a free copy of the International Forecaster. It comes out twice a week. It's coming out tomorrow, theinternationalforecaster.com. Go ask for the free copy of the latest edition. And Bob, Lord willing, we'll see you next week, brother.
You got it. I'll be there. Bye-bye.
Take care. Stay with us. Well, he is a very, very busy man, and we're very honored to have him for the next 50 minutes or so. Dr. Alan Keyes. He's also an ambassador, United States Department of State. Ronald Reagan appoints Keyes to the United Nations, full ambassador, and he served on the staff of the National Security Council, sought the Republican nomination for president in 96 and 2000, ran against Barack Obama for Illinois State Senate 2004, would have been a lot better than Mr. Obama, and he warned people that Obama was going to be a radical. And I really respect Mr. Keyes, but I remember hearing this a year and a half ago going, oh, come on. maybe he'll be bad like Clinton. Who knew he could be even worse? And so he's with us for the next hour. We're going to get into that government health care, the cap and trade, the abortion, expanding funding for abortion in Asia and Africa, his eco-science, written by the mad scientist Holdren, his science czar, which if anybody's a Nazi, it's him. And then these attacks on free speech, saying you can't say socialist now, it's racist. That's invoking the race card, in my humble opinion. And so many issues today. Ambassador Keyes, it's really great to have you here, sir.
I'm glad to be with you. Thank you.
We're going to break in a few minutes and come back to the full audience. But what is most important on your mind right now? And we'll come back and cover that first.
Well, I think there are a couple of things, but the most important thing is the assault on the Constitution, which I think right now is epitomized in the health care proposals, which are really seeking to transform our whole way of life, to move us from free government to totalitarian government.
Well, I hardly agree with you. We're starting to see the establishment go from saying all the anger was staged, which obviously it isn't. Over 90% of people there are angry, and most of them Democrats in many cases, to now they're apologizing, saying, okay, you're not thugs, you're not Nazis, you're not AstroTurf. Is that too little too late, though?
Of course it is. I think we've seen who these people really are. Their initial reaction was the reaction of offended rulers who are looking at you saying, how dare you question us? And they have begun to realize that the American people aren't yet at a stage where they're going to act like the peasants and serfs of old. We are used to being a free people, and we're going to stand up and act like it, whether they like it or not.
Absolutely. The anger is just going across the board. He lost 2 more approval points this week, or no, 3, excuse me. He has the lowest approval of any president up to this date, 7 months into their administration. What is he going to do to try to save his presidency, do you think?
Well, I think that depends. I think he came forward because of a deep ideological commitment. And this is what I tried to explain to people for the longest time. This man is deeply committed to Marxist-Leninism, to the communist, Marxist, socialist understanding of the world. He did in school, in associations, in background, in votes in the Illinois State Senate, in his own activities. This has been the focus of his life. And so he is pursuing that agenda and surrounding himself with people committed to it. And whatever else is going on, they're not really going to drop it. They may have to stop for a while, but they'll probe with bayonets. They've met resistance, they'll back off, but they'll keep probing, just as Lenin told them to.
That does seem to be the tactic. They'll constrict, we'll fight back, and push them back a little bit, but it's the 2 steps forward, 1 step back. They are still going to continue to squeeze. In your educated opinion, working internationally and at the highest levels of the White House, when we come back after this break, how do we stop them then? How do we stop this incremental? Because we can get all fired up and say no, but then they always just come pushing back. I guess we've got to get on the offensive, and then we never back off. I mean, I guess if we're not on the offensive, we're on the defensive.
That's right, and I think it's important to do a simple thing. We're not opposed to their proposals. We're opposed to them.
Well, they've proven they're liars. I mean, you can't believe a word they say, so it's kind of like you have a neighbor you've caught lying to you over and over again. You just stop associating with them, or even some...
You certainly stop trusting them, and I think we can trust them to continue the march to socialism. If we don't want it, then we have to look in another direction for leadership.